Well, hello, I'm here with Doug to talk about the DOGE Whistleblower and other things. It's Friday, April 18, 2025. And you heard about the DOGE Whistleblower, I imagine, right?
No, Sam, I haven't. Tell me
Oh,
about the DOGE whistleblower.
this is one of the information security stories that's so big it actually hit the mainstream press. Rachel Maddow did a show on it and hit the NBC and all that. So, and
Okay.
what happened, of course, DOGE moved into the National Labor Relations Board, like they've done many other federal agencies. They just barge in, connect a bunch of computers to the network, take all the data, mess around with everything, and completely ignore all security rules and everything. And of course, your local security manager is like, wait, you have to have like approval, you have to have authorization. Wait, you can't do that. And they just ignore all that, blast right through and take everything. And then they leave. And he then wrote up a report treating this as a security breach and saying these guys broke all the rules. Here's my documents. Here's the network traffic logs. Here's things. And he explains what they did. And what they did is really shocking. What they did was they demanded and obtained high privileged accounts, turned off logging, disabled two-factor authentication, disabled the feature that blocked unauthorized portable devices from connecting, and then exfiltrated a large amount of data using DNS tunneling and other methods. And in fact, he went on the GitHub of like I think, Big Balls, one of Elon Musk's basically teenage hackers, and found on his GitHub repository them developing a tool just to which called the tunnel to sneak into this agency using their protocol. And he saw that before he made it private. So he developed a tool to exfiltrate data from the network through DNS tunneling, employed it like malware, stole a vast amount of data, and wouldn't. And then, when they complained, they responded by finding where he lived. He had just moved, and his new address was not updated anywhere except in the internal documents of the National Labor Relations Board. They went to his room and taped a threatening note to his door, threatening him, and including photographs taken by a drone of him walking his dog. And it came out that there were similar stories at many other federal agencies, but they succeeded in intimidating those network administrators, so they're too afraid to tell you. And another fun fact is they created a new account, and within a few minutes, there were login attempts with the correct name and password coming from a Russian IP address on that new account. So that strongly implies that they're either directly working with the Russians, or I suppose, more likely, they're using machines that are infected with Russian malware. And that's the point here. Of course, they violate all the security rules. They they take the data and use it illegally, correlating it with data from other federal agencies, which there are laws against for good reason, but they're ignoring all that. That's how they say they're tracking down fraud and illegal immigrants and stuff, by correlating all the data and feeding it all to AI systems on the Microsoft cloud. Um, and Anyway, it's pretty. Well, I think it's also very telling how they tried to intimidate the person reporting this, and it's also very telling the official response. The NLRB's acting press secretary denied that the agency granted DOGE access to any systems or even the building. They're like, DOGE never heard of them. No, none of this happened at all. So that's a bad sign. When companies, that's like Oracle. Oh, we didn't get hacked. No, no. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it is the information security part is interesting. In addition to all of your legal issues, that this is what I heard. Give real substance to the general statement that these guys are creating vulnerabilities by just ignoring all the rules and regulations and procedures at connecting devices to the network. They also stuck a Starlink antenna on the roof and just ran a cable down through the window to make a network connection for all this, to make a new network connection to exfiltrate data that wouldn't have to go through irritating things like the firewall and intrusion detection system and all that jazz.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if it's just what you do like in a pen test, if you just have a bunch of hackers say get in here and steal the stuff, they would use these techniques, but
Yeah.
but that's not really the way to protect the security of the company.
And what organization was this?
DOGE, oh, National Labor Relations Board. So
And what kind of data do you think they have?
they say they have reports from people that have been abused at work. They're confidential documents complaining about working conditions leading to lawsuits and such. A lot of legal confidential information.
Yeah. So whistleblowers in federal government
and all over. They handle labor
yeah,
relations everywhere. And this, of course, is the kind of oversight that the Trump administration is trying to end at every level. They're ending the Security Exchange Commission, the Election Commission, the
yeah.
Communications Commission, the Federal Trade Commission. They don't want any government oversight of any kind of crooked business. They want to
Right.
have a golden age of
Right.
fraud. Yeah. So anyway, I thought it was amazing stuff. It reminds me, you remember the guy Klein that leaked the fact that the NSA was spying on everything from California Street in San Francisco connecting to the backbone of the AT&T network. It was a similar, that was before Snowden. He was the guy that, the whistleblower that exposed this huge hidden illegal activity.
Yeah, I remember that. He was an AT&T employee,
Yeah.
and as it turns out that the fiber going to China, if I'm not mistaken, enters in San Francisco and came into an AT&T building
At 2500
just
California. Yeah.
yeah, 2500 California, and that's a very highly secure building. They prevented access to, I think, the floor above them, and they didn't tell him what was going on.
Right.
But
They told him, go to this room and install fiber optic splitters to make an extra copy of all the data. And it was later he said, what did I just do? And he
well,
had the
no, but
documents.
no. So what happened was, yeah, he was told to put in a fiber splitter,
Yeah.
and that was it. And he wasn't told what to do. But he saw the boxes in the garbage and realized what they were doing was exfiltrating data.
Yeah. And he
So,
posted like diagrams and everything. He
yeah,
just like this guy, he had pretty convincing evidence.
yeah,
He just put
yeah,
it all in public, which probably is breaking all kinds of laws. I don't know if he got whistleblower protection or what, but he probably
yeah,
was not
yeah.
authorized to disclose that. But anyway, yeah,
Well, now that DOGE has it, we can see if he was a whistleblower.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, anyway, so I thought that was the big story. Other than that, I got a lot of other little ones. There's,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, so let me kind of jump into one here. This is
yeah,
kind of fun.
yeah.
So the government has ruled that Google is too big. Have you been following that?
I saw it, but then I saw that it's still going to be appealed and everything. So,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. But that's the ruling. So now who do they have their eyes set on? It's Meta.
oh, well,
And
yeah, I mean, I would think so. I mean, this reminds me of the Ashcroft when they tried to split up Microsoft.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
got so close that it really did change Microsoft's behavior. That lawsuit put the fear of God in them for a while.
yeah, yeah. So interesting though is with Meta, remember Zuckerberg contributed $1 million to Trump's campaign?
Oh, everybody did. You have to.
Yeah, but he's getting no favors.
Well, other people put in 15 million or 40 million. No,
Yeah,
I think the big lesson is his bribe wasn't big enough.
yeah, yeah,
He should go buy a bunch of Doge of Trump coin or something.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So 1 million was just a pittance. He needed to add three more zeros to that.
Well, I don't know if that much, but I know a million was the stated price for attending the inauguration.
Yeah, okay.
But other people found creative ways to bribe him. Like the one creative way is to settle a lawsuit you're going to win. That's what Comcast did, I think, or one of the news agencies. They were sued with a lawsuit saying you can't. I think it was over that Kamala Harris interview where they just edited the answer in a normal way, and Trump sued saying you made her look too good, and so they could have won that lawsuit easily in First Amendment grounds, but they settled and paid a bunch of millions just as a bribe. That's a way to
Yeah,
to
that,
conceal
yeah,
your
yeah,
bribe.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, Sam, I was kind of following the Tate brothers. It kind of came up
Oh
in,
yeah.
conversation. Interesting. They're back in Romania now.
Oh, good. So they did extradite them back there. I'm glad because I
I,
wondered.
I wait. Let's be clear. I don't know that they were extradited. What I saw said that they voluntarily returned,
Hmm.
so to comply with
Uh,
Romanian laws. So I wonder what they did here for a month.
well, I know
And
they were facing really serious prison time for rape and sex trafficking.
and
And I
extradition to
yeah,
and extradition to the UK for same. for human
Uh,
trafficking.
so maybe, and I figured when they got to come here, this was really basically Trump getting them out of jail, and maybe that's going to turn out to be that.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see. So again, this is the press release
Yeah.
or news release. So we don't really know what the backstory is.
Yeah, but the toxic male bro culture is a big part of Trump's base, so he's all for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I did read how they made their money, if you will. And it looks like all porn industry
Oh yeah,
and
I think he ran like a school to teach men how to pick up women, that kind of thing, like a
the,
sort of sex predator dating service kind of thing.
yeah, and I think that failed. I think he also had an investment company, but the real money, from what I can tell, again, I didn't dig deep, is kind of porn, and there was a
Yeah.
bunch of guys pretending to be women, trying to, ooh, baby, I love you so much, send me money,
Well, that's
kind
what
of.
essentially all the dating services are, apparently,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
bots or men pretending to be women.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right, so I thought we brought up Tate Brothers about a
yeah,
month ago, so I thought I'd
sure.
bring a update to
You-
that.
Yeah,
What
it'd be
what
interesting to know whether they're actually escaping prison or what.
Well, we'll see, right? It's
Yeah,
time. We do know that Trevor Milton from Nikola Trucks,
right.
the cost for him to get out of jail, meaning get a pardon, was 1.8 million.
Yep. I remember Giuliani just quoted a price and tried to sell pardons in the first administration, but then it turned out he didn't really have the ability to deliver them. I guess Trump has a more effective agent now to peddle the pardons. And I feel compelled to mention that Bill Clinton also sold like 200 pardons at the end of his term just to make money. So I think the pardon power is one of the most corrupt things in the United States government, and it should just be ended. Anyway,
Yeah, well, but Biden did the same, didn't he?
I
Towards
didn't
the
know
end of
that.
his.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I know Clinton did. He certainly could have. He would be sort of missing out, like if he wasn't cashing in on this. It's just free money for the president.
Yeah, the one that surprised me is Biden pardoned the judge that was the Cash for Kids in Pennsylvania.
Um,
And that's where the judge was
yeah.
convicting teenagers and putting them into jail.
Yeah, it's hard
It
to
was,
see any
it was,
justification for that.
yeah, that was a privately owned jail. So
Yeah.
uh, for every kid, under 18 that was sent to that jail, he got a kickback or a commission.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to see any justification for pardoning that guy except just to make money for
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
bribe.
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
so the mad government corruption marches on. Trump is now going to punish Harvard. He ended their federal
yeah,
grants, and now he's going to end their tax exempt status. And so we'll see. Um, but Harvard is standing strong against him. They're the first university to take a strong stand after the others just caved. And so hopefully it'll work out. There's also a movement to try to make the second tier universities, the Big Ten, are trying to make a pact to all stand together like NATO against Trump when he goes for
yeah,
them. We'll see if they can do that. That's certainly what they need to do. The news agencies should have done that and they didn't. The banks should have done that and the lawyering companies should have done that. And now that's coming out. Now a bunch of the lawyer companies are suing back and actually stopping Trump from crushing them. And that reverses it. That means that the ones that caved to Trump now look like bad lawyers. So, I mean, when Trump comes to you to put pressure on a law firm, if they cave, that is a bad look. You would think they would be able to fight in court.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway, and so now, I mean, it's very interesting how well AOC is doing. So Bernie, people wondered what the hell Bernie is doing. He's campaigning all across the country, even when it's not an election year and he's not a candidate. They said, "What are you doing?"
right.
And they interviewed him. He said, "Well, I ran for president last time and I lost, and I wish I'd started campaigning earlier." So I said, "I'm going to start earlier this time." But he's not campaigning for himself. He hasn't said it, but obviously the result is campaigning for AOC. AOC is the heir apparent, and her polls have jumped up really high. She's almost as like holds almost as highly as Kamala Harris as the next Democratic contender. And I think Kamala Harris is going down and she's going up because Kamala has just vanished. She's not doing anything. And AOC
Right.
is getting a lot of visibility out of this, and people are really liking her message. So And she even said at one of the rallies a couple of days ago, she said that they've been visiting red Republican districts with this tour and getting tens of thousands of people coming out cheering for them. And that has scared the Republican representatives from those districts. And they have been sending a letter. They sent a letter to Republican leadership saying, guys, this looks pretty bad. The people are pretty mad, and I don't think I'll be able to vote for cutting Medicaid like you want me to.
Hmm.
So even
Yeah.
these rallies are having the kind of pressure. They're dramatizing, just like those Republican town halls did. The Republicans are doing this stuff, and in Washington, in the bubble, they think, "Oh, this is great. Everybody loves Elon Musk cutting everything. Everybody wants to cut Medicare and Social Security. They'll love us for it." And when they talk to the people do not love them for it, and they try to peddle the lies that are going around Washington, like, "Oh, there's all this waste and fraud and abuse," and everybody just screams and yells and throws eggs at them and stuff. And they say, we're not going to get reelected if we keep doing all this incredibly unpopular stuff. So it's good to think that was the good part of democracy, right? In democracy,
Yeah.
you can't abuse the people too much before they throw you out. So hopefully that will work.
Hopefully that'll work. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Anyway, then
What else you have for
did you hear
us?
about these people hacking the crosswalk signs? That's happened.
No.
That happened.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, happened around here and then also in Seattle. Because I actually know more about this than I ought to because I was walking to school one day and the guy was there fixing the crosswalk speaker and he was having trouble with it. So I just stopped to chat with him and then he connected through my phone to get a better internet connection so he could, I really showed the whole process. It's just sort of like updating the firmware in your router. You log into this page, it has like the pattern of what signals how many seconds to wait for each change, and then it says what sound to make for various conditions, and you just choose off a menu. There's like various sounds you can have, and he couldn't connect to download the sound, so I helped him download the official San Francisco sound for a walk light. So it's pretty easy to hack, I'm sure.
So, any idea how they log in?
Uh, no, it looked to me like all you have to do is open that box. There's a box there with a key, like, paper towel
Oh,
dispenser kind of key, probably not a very secure key. And I think once you're in there, probably physically connecting is all you have to do. I know those signs on the side of the road that say like bridge out, people keep hacking those to say like zombie attack or something.
yeah.
But I think it's the same. If you're physically there pressing the buttons, that's enough authentication.
And are you talking about the big signs that are above the freeway or the ones on the side?
The ones on the side are the ones I've seen get hacked all the time. So ones I
Yeah.
drive up in a truck. So I imagine those have less security. They probably just have a default password or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I imagine it's probably the same for these things. I didn't see him log in, but it looked like just the same kind of industrial system that I'll be talking about it at a conference coming up. Industrial system security is really bad because it typically is this way. Just physical connection is enough or a default pin or something. Nobody has worried about network attacks enough for those kind of systems.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those systems were developed back in the 70s, maybe late 60s, 70s for
Right. And
sure.
and by the way, it occurs to me
Yeah.
from what we did, it is clear that those traffic light signals are not connected to the internet. That was the problem. The guy had trouble.
Yeah.
So that if you asked me, I would say, oh, it's not connected to the internet, and they have to unlock the panel. So that's enough security. That's
Yeah.
probably it.
Yeah. And why would you have every traffic light, every walk or crossing light attached to the internet?
Well, you have it so you could remotely repair it and modify it. That would be the issue. This guy actually has
Yeah.
to drive and open them one by one to like upgrade them or
Yeah.
something.
But Sam, look at how many crosswalk signals there are in San Francisco.
Yep.
There got to be tens of thousands.
Yep. And so
And
decide to upgrade something, some guy has to drive to each one and upgrade them one by one. That's the same reason with computers. That's why it would be more efficient to have them networked.
yeah, but why the expense of bringing an internet to that box? Or I guess you could do it Wi-Fi or cellular.
Yeah, yeah. Or Zigbee, like the power meters. Just like it's very much like the power meters. You'd save
Yeah.
yourself all the bother of having to physically visit them periodically.
Yeah, but the advantage is if you're there, you can see if there's any physical damage.
Yeah,
And plus, how often does somebody go out and repair a
right,
traffic signal?
right. Well, this is the issue. This is, in a rational decision-making process, they would be comparing these things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
I
if
agree.
they were networked, then political activists could change them all. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And so this is where you push the button and the signal changes from red for pedestrian
yeah,
to green, and then you get the countdown. And what's the audio that
yeah.
normally it
The current
says,
audio says wait for the light to turn green, but they've replaced
yeah,
it with a synthesized voice of somebody like Elon Musk saying something insulting to him, like "I'm taking over every government agency, and I'll be wiping this one out soon." And they have Zuckerberg. They have some kind of insulting, message mocking these billionaires, eh, with very good AI synthesis of their voices. Which is kind of a funny prank. I imagine that's highly illegal and somebody could go to prison for it, but it's a pretty
yeah,
funny
it
prank.
is.
Remember
Yeah.
the Ukrainians did this to the street signs in Russia and train stations and pop up political messages and stuff. And there was a woman in Moscow that would go to the grocery store and put where they have the price marks on the shelves, he would put a fake price mark that said like 80 1,000 soldiers killed in Ukraine last month or something to have, political messages on the price tags. Like, they did that here before the last election. They would go to the gas pumps and put a sticker on, thank Joe Biden for this price.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Anyway, same kind of thing. So, and I guess I'll mention it while we're here. There's a big expose that's come out about Elon Musk's crazy breeding program. He, I didn't, the first I've heard of this, apparently the billionaires are real worried about population decline. They say people are not having enough babies, and that's going to ruin the economy, which it kind of did in Japan, I know. But Elon Musk in particular, has many times said he loves the movie Idiocracy because he thinks that's really happening. The stupid people, the inferior people are having babies, and the geniuses, good, important people like me, worthy, are not having enough babies. So that's going to destroy the whole human race in a couple of generations. And boy, this is straight up Nazi eugenics shit. This has been going on forever. They were sterilized the inferior races and try to encourage breeding among the pure Aryan superior race. And that's totally where Elon Musk is. So he pays women to bear children for him. He picks them up on Twitter. He has four women with 14 children he knows of, but there's probably a lot more because one of the women came out and said he'll find you on Twitter. Then he'll send you a DM and say, hey, how about you bear my child? I'll pay you $15 million and then a stipend of $100,000 a month, but you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement and never tell anybody. So he probably has a lot more of these children in secret in
I
order to
see.
spread
I see.
his superior genes and create the master superior human race as all these mini Elons grow up and become super geniuses saving the world.
So Elon's looking towards the future.
Oh, he's always looking towards getting off
Yeah.
of Earth, populating Mars. And this is the whole point of his thing, effective altruism. His decisions are not to benefit anybody today. They are to benefit people in a few thousand years after we leave this planet.
So he's long gone. He'll never know what happens.
That, well, that's right. I haven't heard of him sign on to the live forever thing. That's Kurzweil. Kurzweil is trying to take he takes 100 supplements a day. He is trying to live long enough to live forever. He thinks if he can live till about 2042, he'll be able to transfer his consciousness into a robot computer and live forever. So he's like 80 and he's trying to make it to 2042. uh,
Yeah, I see.
that's his
I see.
plan.
So, Sam, there's a video in San Francisco, looks like it's around Battery Street, where the police have pulled over somebody. Have you seen
Mhm.
this video?
No.
And there's got to be, I don't know, probably 8 police officers, guns drawn, pointed at a car.
Oh,
The car is wedged between parked cars, police officers, and I think some, car that was behind it. You hear the loudspeaker saying, "Get out of the car, you surrender, make this easy on yourself."
Hmm.
And the guy stays in the car. And again, guns drawn, pointed directly at him. And you see the guy kind of pause there, not sure what to do. And then all of a sudden he backs up, he smashes the police car, he goes forward, smashes another car, smashes another car, smashes another car, and drives away.
Man. So what did they do? Put up a roadblock or something?
No, he drove away.
He totally got away. They didn't arrest him, right?
Yeah, yeah, he went around the corner, drove away.
Well,
They could have easily, I wouldn't recommend this. I know why they didn't do that, but they could have popped his tires. They could
yeah.
have shot his tires. That would be dumb, though.
Well, because
I'm
I know that's not allowed because you might miss and you might hit somebody else, you know.
Yeah,
Why then
yeah,
the movies
yeah.
they shoot it behind traveling cars and all the cops tell me that's the most unrealistic thing. You never shoot at a moving car. That's
You
insane,
hit the
obviously. Obviously the car was out of control and hit something. Your bullet will go through and hit a pedestrian. This is really bad policing.
Yeah, but while the guy was parked there,
Yeah.
and I guess, yeah, I guess but it was wedged between a couple cars. You'd think that a, officer could go over there and take a knife and just stab the tire. How long would that take?
Well, I'm sure that's not recommended procedure either because
No, I know
yeah.
it's not, but
Yeah, but that's the problem of being responsible. This is like the Democrats. They say, why aren't the Democrats like doing something terrible to stop Trump? Well, the Democrats actually believe in like orderly procedure and planning and obeying the rules and stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see how this goes, how this turns out, huh?
Yep.
So, people complain about Oakland police not doing much. Well, now you have San Francisco.
Oh,
So
they
it looks
complain about them
bad.
not doing much too,
Do they? Okay.
but I'm sure they're hemmed in by a lot of rules.
Yeah. And, again, I'm not faulting them. It's kind of hard to say. It's easy to quarterback after
Yeah.
the event has taken place. I'm not there. I don't know what the other parameters are, but
Yeah.
so it is. Sam, I got one for you.
Yeah.
Guess whose podcast has become so popular it's replaced Joe Rogan on Spotify?
Well, I don't know. I know it was Midas Touch a few weeks ago, but it might be somebody else now.
What's Midas Touch?
It's an anti-Trump political podcast.
Ah, okay. Nope, this is even more popular from what I
Mhm.
understand. And it's all about telepathy. And
Telepathy.
that, yeah, yeah. And that autistic kids have telepathic powers.
I haven't heard of this, and it's hard to believe it would become popular. This sounds like complete crap.
Well, it is complete crap, but that's beside the point. And what's happened is ABC News, Diane Sawyer, I'm not sure when she did this, but there was a ABC News story about kids with autism that can communicate, spell out words. They have telepathic powers. And so what it's turned out is somebody has done some research on this and they've looked into it.
Yeah.
And it really turns out that it's either intentional or unintentional magician tricks where the handler or the parents of the autistic kid is giving them clues.
I remember that's why they have double-blind science experiments because
And
you can leak information accidentally.
yeah, and they have done these double-blind experiments,
Yeah.
but as they start to set up the double-blind experiments, what happens is they say, "Oh, the kid's getting agitated right now, not going to be able to do it, but I need to assist." And when they do a true double-blind experiment where they show the autistic child a picture, for example, and they show the handler a picture, 100% of the time it's incorrect. In other words,
Right.
so
Okay.
so
Right.
yeah,
So the
they're
double so it
showing
is
two.
yeah, so it is a covert channel.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the podcast has failed to realize this, and they are actually trying to convince people that autistic people have telepathy.
Yeah, yeah. So, telepathy and telepathic powers, that was
Yeah.
big back in the 70s.
Oh, yeah. It goes all the way back to the dawn of time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It goes back before then.
I
But there
remember
was a
in,
lot of research on
oh,
that. Russia had claimed
yeah,
to be able to have those powers. That was during the Cold War era.
yeah, remote viewing. That was the movie,
Remote.
Men Who Stare at Goats was the movie about.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
in a way, they're correct to research it. If you could really do that, it would be a powerful weapon, but it's not.
True. True.
And by the
True.
way, now the modern NMR imaging and stuff and brain implants, we will actually get there through technology before long.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, um, I thought this was pretty interesting. Large language models are now reasoning models. And I've used them, and probably everybody has. If you use like DeepSeek, it's very interesting. You ask old model, you'd ask it a question, and it would just think for a while and then pop out the answer. The new one will describe its thinking. It'll say, well, you've asked this question. Let me break it up into steps. Let me try to do the first step and the second step. Oh, maybe I could interpret the second step differently. Maybe I'll go this way. No, I won't go that way. So it shows you all the reasoning, just like more or less like how a human would at interpreting the question. In fact, it's interesting. Sometimes when it gets the wrong answer, you can see where it went wrong. And so anyway, that's interesting, but it turns out that that is pretty inefficient. And what they pointed out, which I thought was really pretty brilliant, is when a large language model runs, it's a lot like quantum mechanics. It has these millions of neurons, and they have signals that are analog with various values, and they process them. But when you actually put language out, it has to have like a collapse of the wave function down to picking one word instead of
Yeah.
maintaining all the complexity of those analog signals. And they said printing out the reasoning step by step is in fact degrading the performance of the model because it keeps having to quantize it down to words partway through. So they tried programming it so it does all the reasoning in the uncertain analog zone and doesn't come up with words till the end. And the end result is it's just as powerful and it uses 10%, only 10% of the processing power now to get the same result. So in retrospect, that's kind of obvious that the step where you turn it into language involves a great loss of information, and you should avoid doing that until the very end.
Hmm.
And the same thing's true of quantum computers. The step of measurement destroys the information. Like a qubit is an analog signal with two angles in it that can be high precision, but when you measure it, it's either a zero or a one. So almost all the information is destroyed when you measure it. And so you should only do that at the very end. You shouldn't be doing that in the middle. I thought
So,
that was pretty
Sam,
clever.
have you been following quantum computing?
Yeah.
Any new breakthroughs? Anything?
Oh, well,
Uh,
constantly. They have little improvements. It's still like 20 years away from actually getting anything done. The big step in quantum computing was about 3 weeks ago. Microsoft claimed they developed a Majorana particle, which is a theoretical particle never observed, and therefore they could make a much superior quantum computing chip that they would really scale up to like millions of qubits. And after they reported that, physicists came out and said, "Oh, their evidence for that isn't really as convincing as it should be." And they probably haven't really done that. But Microsoft is making this chip, and they claim they're going to have a chip with a whole bunch of qubits on it. They say, well, I'll believe it when I see it. Because right now, the only thing they've actually made is a chip with one qubit on it. And
okay.
that's, and they claim they could scale it up to millions, but that would only be true if they really have made these Majorana particles. And so we'll find out.
Okay. Okay.
That's the,
That's a completely alien world when you get into quantum mechanics to most people.
yeah, it is. But I mean, I love quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is very interesting. So I did
Yeah.
my thesis on it. So I
Oh,
learned.
you did.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
I was part of the team that first discovered molecular tunneling, where an entire carbon monoxide molecule tunnels to a barrier. That was new at the time. It was a big thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that's a completely alien world compared to what we live in. It's just so different.
it is. But what it shows is something that philosophers and Zen Buddhists have always told us, which is the world is an illusion. It's not what you think it is at all.
Yeah.
Like it's not full of objects that are in one place that move smoothly to another place. That's just a rough approximation. The actual world is much more interesting,
Yeah.
complicated, and mysterious than it appears to be.
Your voice has dropped out. I don't know if it's me or
Really?
you.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if Zoom is having trouble. Your face froze up. Can you hear me? Yeah, I think Zoom is fouling up.
Yeah. My
Did you?
internet connection is unstable, it says.
Oh, well, that might be it. Yeah, because your face froze up a little bit. That might be it. I know Zoom actually had an outage a couple days ago.
Yeah, that they did.
Anyway,
All right.
we'll
So
probably
I
be
got
on.
another one here. This one kind of caught me by surprise.
Yeah,
Did you know that the 2034 Olympics will be returning to Utah?
2034. They plan it that far out?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
did not know.
And what's going to be special?
I have no
So if
idea.
you don't even know the Olympics are going to be there, you don't know what's going to be special.
Well, I guess they're going to have Winter Olympics and snow and mountains, I hope, if they're in Utah.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see about the alcohol laws, how that's going to change in Utah at the time. But that's not the big story here.
Yeah.
The big story is that Utah plans to offer flying cars, flying transportation. They
Oh,
have a flying vehicle right now that's all electric. It uses four Tesla batteries, Tesla
wow.
car size batteries.
Wow.
It will seat five plus a pilot. No talk about cost, but they'll pick you up at the airport and fly you to, whatever your condo, Swiss chalet, wherever you're going to stay at.
But I'm very interested in electric flying vehicles. That always seemed to me like a really bad idea because the batteries are so heavy. If they've solved that problem, that's a major step forward.
That's what they claim. This is according to Marketplace Tech.
Yeah. Well, if they had made one of those things, they're right to show it off.
Yeah, so I believe that they're trying to do that. Utah is also trying to be the spaceport.
Oh, I thought there already was a spaceport. There's one in Florida. I think there's one somewhere else, Texas or something. I guess there's going to be a lot of competition for it. There's so many people launching satellites.
Yeah, yeah. Although it seems kind of odd to me to put that in Utah, because in any direction you launch a rocket, and usually it goes to the east, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
that there's a large population area there.
Yeah. Also, I thought it was best to be as close to the equator as you can get to get the maximum
Yeah,
benefit from the rotating Earth. Give you sort of a
yeah,
slingshot. But maybe that's not a significant issue.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
And remember spin launch?
Oh, yeah. The guys are going to basically have a sort of slingshot kind of thing to.
Yeah, they're going to take a missile, they're going to
Yeah.
spin it around,
Yeah. They had
and
they had prototypes. They'd send rocks up and get them like 100 miles
yeah,
or something.
yeah.
And
Any
yeah.
update? Any update from them?
I saw in the articles they're trying to reconfigure it to launch satellites, but I think it's still not really working.
Yeah,
I think they
yeah,
got like some funding to make a new version of it or something.
yeah. I'm just curious. We hear about this tech, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of splash in the headlines, and
Oh, I remember
they
that
make
one. Remember that one from
yeah,
the 1950s science fiction book, The Man Who Bought the Moon from Heinlein. The people built those things, then they built one on the moon and started sending rocks back to bomb people on Earth. They said, "Hey, this is pretty bad. This thing makes a good weapon," which is true. I mean, as a matter of fact, you can use that thing to send up rocks and have them just land on people like Big Bertha. It would be a
yeah,
weapon, among other things.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What else do you have for us
Oh,
today?
I think the one I want to mention, we did the MITRE, City College did the MITRE embedded device security contest. We've done it 2 years. Last year we didn't get too far. This year the team is awesome, and they won number three out of 120 colleges, and you can only get in by being a pretty important college. So they beat a whole lot of famous four-year colleges. Um, Here's the scoreboard. They're number three. The only people ahead of them is Carnegie Mellon, of course. In case you don't know, in every capture the flag contest in security, there's Carnegie Mellon, like this one, for example. Carnegie Mellon has 55,000 points. Number two has 16,000. That's the way it is. Carnegie Mellon is like a factor of three ahead of everybody else in every
Yeah.
flag
Yeah.
contest. It's like all you see is their dust in the distance. But
Yeah. Got it.
City College is number three. They beat out UCLA, University of
Wow.
Illinois, OSU, MIT, is Brigham Young. All the famous colleges are behind them. So, I saw their poster explaining what they did, and it's really impressive. They had to secure this board so it would take network traffic and process it, and the enemy teams were going to have access to the physical board and the source code. And they were supposed to like defeat the cryptography and get it to accept unauthorized inputs or something. And so the main attack they worried about was timing attacks. So they wrote a code that specifically adds random time delays to the processing, and they were very careful to do a high quality random number generator for that. And that made them protected from the attacks. And then they hacked into the enemy's boards by doing timing attacks on the board.
Okay. And what are the boards?
They looked like little Raspberry Pi looking things.
Oh,
Uh,
I see. I
yeah,
see.
and you have a very limited computing resources, and they give you like a sheet saying you must accomplish these things. You're going to send these signals, and you must process them. And your goal is to make it so that it can process the correct inputs, but it will reject improperly signed inputs.
I see. So you're given like a mini computer, if you
Yeah,
will, like a Raspberry Pi or
yeah,
Arduino.
yeah. You get
And
yeah, and you get
okay.
and you have specifications and like some sample code to get you started. And they said
Yeah,
write a processor that is functional within these parameters and also secure. So even an attacker with physical access to the board cannot defeat the cryptography.
I see. Okay.
Which is that's
Interesting.
the typical embedded device issue, right? I mean, people can steal the device and then they can hack in. So and anyway, they did very well. I'm very pleased with them.
So do they send you out the board or
Yeah,
do
they
you have to
send you like
purchase one?
they send you like 10 copies of the board, and you can have a team, and you have like 3 months to do it. And then
Oh,
you have to upload your code, and then other people, then there's a phase where you attack the other people's stuff and they attack yours. And you get points if you survive the attack, and they get points if they get in. So
I see.
there's
I see.
first there's defense, and then there's offense. And when they first told me they were going to focus on timing attacks, I thought, oh, I don't know, that seems kind of esoteric. Is that really a thing to worry about? Turns out it is. And they
Yeah,
successfully used those timing attacks to break in, and they had a nice explanation. They looked at their code and they said, hey, this code is efficient, which means all I have to do is guess one byte of the key, and it'll take the longest if my key is correct, because then it won't take any of the shortcuts. It compares it like bit by bit, and as soon as a bit is wrong, it glitches. So it's like a 16 byte key or something, but they can break those bytes one by one by just
Hmm.
changing it until it gets slow, and then they know they found the right byte. So it's pretty effective.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for me this round. Do you have any more stories?
No, I don't think there's any more
No.
worth mentioning.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to stop it.
Oh,
We'll
hey.
another one of these on Tuesday.
Sounds like Kirk's on.
I
Yeah,
think so.
crashing your party.
Yeah. All right.